Okay, so for tonight's video, we are going to apply what you did yesterday in class, but now add another piece to finding equivalent fractions. When you find them, yes, of course you can multiply, you can draw your pies, you can use your fraction strips, you can, I mean, you have so many options, number lines and everything. You can also divide and find equivalent fractions as well, okay? So I am going to start by reviewing the multiplying one and then show you how the division one works as well. Okay? All right, so let's say that we're starting with a fraction like 2/5. Okay? I know that I can multiply and make all of those numbers get bigger. In order to make equivalent fractions. I can multiply by 2, I can multiply by 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, just like you worked on yesterday. Okay? I can multiply by 2. I can multiply by 3. I can multiply by 4. Multiply by 5. Multiply by 6. And multiply by 7. And then I'll have 6 wonderful fractions that are equivalent. So multiply by 2, I would get 4/10. Multiply by 3, I would get 6/15. Multiply by 4, I would get 8/20. And if I am going way too fast, you pause the video, you get caught up, and push play when you're done getting caught up. Multiply by 5, I would get 10/25. Multiply by 6, I would get 12/30. Multiply by 7, I would get 14/35. Okay, so you can see that pattern was happening. Look, I am multiplying, I'm getting like I'm adding 2 more each time at the top for my numerators. And then down the bottom each time I'm adding 5. So that's why it works this way. I mean, look at the top, your numerator starting with 2, and so each time you're adding 2 more, your denominator starts with 5, and each time you're adding 5, okay? Now, how can it work for division? Division would not work for a fraction like 2/5, but it would work for fractions like all of the ones that we listed for 2/5. Why would it work for those? Because those numbers in the fractions are a lot bigger, and I can make the numbers become smaller. And that's what division does, is it makes a big number become a smaller number, just like subtraction. Okay, so let's say that I'm starting with something like 16/20. I mean, that is a very large fraction, where that, what I mean by that is it's got larger numbers in the numerator and the denominator, a lot of pieces in my pie, okay? And if I divide, I could work with numbers that are easier to work with. So I could divide by 2. And then what would I get? Well, 16 divided by 2 is 8. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Okay, so I could divide by 2. Well, what else could I divide 16 and 20 by? I could divide by 4. Why could I divide by 4? Because 16 is a multiple of 4, and so is 20. So that would mean that I could divide by 4 as well, since 16 and 20 are multiples of 4. So that would give me 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 20 divided by 4 is 5. Okay, so there we go. I mean, there's a couple more equivalent fractions, but using division. Okay, so now let's look at your log for tonight. Okay, yes, if you're watching this video, What did you learn? Any questions that you have, okay? And then over here, you're going to come up again with those equivalent fractions for a fraction that I give you. And I want you to multiply, divide to find these equivalent fractions. Use both ways to find these equivalent fractions, okay? Okay, so I want you to find equivalent fractions for, and I want you to come up with 4. I want you to come up with 4 equivalent fractions for the fraction I'm about to give you. And I'm just going to write it in your notebook, in your spiral, okay? So I want you to come up with 4 equivalent fractions for 12 eighteenths, okay? 12 eighteenths. What are some other equivalent fractions that go with 12 eighteenths? 4 more. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can multiply by numbers. You need to divide by numbers, okay? Key thing for the division. Think of numbers that you could divide by that have both 12 and 18 as multiples. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that, and you'll work on this tomorrow.